Kotuya everyone, thank you so much for checking out my channel and this video series on Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi. My name is John and I am a Star Wars scholar. I create content for Star Wars fans like you and me by discussing things like plot, themes, philosophy, and everything else that makes Star Wars so amazing. My hope is to offer you engaging videos with stuff that we both love, and I really hope that you take a moment to engage with me back. In this video, I offer my thoughts on Chapter 3, so let's begin. Chapter 3 is broken into 3 distinct scenes. In the first scene, Minister Eka and his counselors on Hetzel Prime discuss what to do about the mysterious system-wide alert that has gone out across the Hetzel system. Counselor Dan reassures Eka the alert is real, having come from a remote monitoring station at the edge of the system. However, the government's attempts to get more information from the station have been unsuccessful, and Dan believes the station has been destroyed. Counselor Zepha adds that a mining rig in the mid-system also has recently gone offline, and the satellite network used in the entire system is starting to show holes. She believes something or someone is taking out their facilities one by one. Upset with the lack of concrete information, Eka turns to General Borta, who is in charge of the system's defense. Borta responds by pointing out that the military's budget has been cut, but his team is doing everything they can to get answers. Borta does not believe that they are under attack, as the satellite network's holes appear random and the defenses of the planet and its 2 moons are still intact. Kevin Tarr, an up-and-coming technical expert, interjects, saying he can display what is happening. After plugging his datapad into a droid, he shows a system-wide map of Hetzel and hundreds of tiny lights traveling at near light speed, all heading for the planet and its 2 moons. Tarr does not know what the anomalies are, but confirms that when they hit anything going at that speed, the result will be apocalyptic. Eka asks Borta if it is possible to shoot the anomalies that are headed to the planet and the moons, but again Borta claims that budget cuts and the sheer number of anomalies make that option impossible. Eka orders a system-wide evacuation and an additional message to Coruscant to inform them of their situation, knowing that Coruscant will be unable to offer aid in time. Zepha is concerned that executing a system-wide evacuation order cannot be accomplished with much success, but Eka responds that if the evacuation order saves at least 1 life, then it will be worth it. Eka suggests that everyone make their own way off planet, but he decides to stay and broadcast to the people of the system to try and keep them calm. The second scene cuts to general responses to the system-wide alert. There are 3 general kinds of response to the alert. The first kind of response is simply to ignore it. The alert did not have much information attached to it, and that has led to speculation. Some people ignored the alert because there have been previously false alarms and pranks. They could also not believe that the entire system was in danger. So, these people turned off the alert and went back to their lives, staying in their homes or their workplaces because it was better than the alternative. The second kind of response is to freeze at the alert. These people wanted to find safety, but they had no idea how. Because the Hetzel system was primarily a farming system, very few had access to a way off-world, as most of these people might only ever go off into space in a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So, for the second group, they simply did not know how to execute the evacuation order. The third kind of response is to heed the warning, gather family and belongings, and attempt to leave the system by whatever means of transport available. However, these people are thwarted by crowds, queues, and price gouging. Fights break out, and those who are supposed to keep the peace end up caring more for their own families than for their jobs. And so, order breaks down. There is an individual example of a kind-hearted trader who decides to load up his ship with as many passengers as he can, despite the warnings from his pilot that the old engines will not be able to take the stress. He ignores the warning, and the ship explodes as it tries to leave the rooted moon. Hetzel sends out a message to other systems asking for aid. Other Outer Rim worlds receive the message and pass it along deeper into the core, where it eventually arrives at Coruscant. However, no one knows what to do, but they do know that they will be unable to reach Hetzel to stop whatever is happening. Instead, these systems merely send medical vessels to help with any possible survivors. The third and final scene of the chapter cuts back to Minister Eka, who has just finished up his fourth broadcast. He wonders if his actions are doing any good, but he believes they are not, since there is rioting at all the transport facilities. The evacuation system he has hastily established is inefficient, but it is the best he can do with his resources and the time. Eka blames himself, but he knows there was nothing more he could have done. This situation was simply unforeseen, and the decisions he made previously were the best decisions at the time with the information he had. It is his job to handle this situation as best he can. Eka marvels at the commitment and ability of Tar, who has stayed to continue to run his network, passing information as best he can to those who need it. Eka compares Hetzel's situation to the yearly swarm of chew flies that plague the fruited moon. When the swarms come, all you can do is try and survive it, and then rebuild and regrow what was lost. Tar announces that Eka has a message, which simply says, "This is Jedi Master Avar Kriss. Help is on the way." Minister Eka and Kevin Tar continue the streak of noble characters to begin the book. These characters have also come in pairs. Captain Cassett and Lieutenant Bauman in the first chapter, Scantex, Getter, and Karen in the second chapter, and now Minister Eka and Kevin Tar in the third chapter. The first two pairs of characters are introduced and are immediately thrown into danger, and these two pairs of noble characters die nobly at the end of their respective chapters. In this chapter, however, the pattern is altered. Eka and Tar are introduced in the midst of danger, and their chapter ends not with their deaths, but with the hope that they will survive. The second scene is another commentary by Soule, and this time it is on the different ways people respond to possible alerts and alarms. All three responses are upsetting, but for very different reasons. The first response, to simply ignore the alert, is sad as we assume that these people will be killed while going about their daily lives. The second response, which is to freeze and feel helpless, is sad because we want these people to act when the moment requires, but they are ultimately unable. The third response is met with a sadness of a different kind. While they are doing what they are supposed to do, the sheer panic and the nature of people makes it such that they are unable to leave. All three responses demonstrate different failings of a person's nature: to ignore, to freeze, and to be stopped through the actions of others. The episode of the traitor ship introduces some interesting moral questions. Do we blame the traitor for his actions, or do we praise him for his intentions? His intentions are obviously noble, as he removes his cargo, and therefore his profit, to load as many people into the freighter as possible, so he can save as many lives as possible. Similar circumstances accompany both Captain Cassett and Scantech Getter, yet it is unclear if this unnamed traitor deserves the same credit and benefit. But where exactly do our vague lines lie? Do we fault the traitor for overloading his vessel and therefore indirectly causing the deaths of everyone involved? If we want him to listen to the pilot, how do we know at the time that the pilot is correct? We wouldn't. So would we find fault with the traitor who took only a portion of possible passengers? And where does that line fall? 50%? 75%? If he took on 400 passengers, and that led to the deaths of everyone involved, would we fault him for 399 passengers, and all of them were able to live? Finally, this chapter ends with a very interesting message. The Hetzel system are unable to assist themselves, and the Republic as a whole, and individual systems in particular, are unable to help the Hetzel system. The Republic, and specifically the Hetzel system, needs the Jedi, who just happened to be close enough to respond to the call for help. On the one hand, this is simply blind luck. Jedi cannot teleport or move through space any faster than any other people, so the Hetzel people are incredibly lucky the Jedi are so close and respond. But on the other hand, the Jedi here are used like angels or like Dei Ex Machina. Not only does the Hetzel system need assistance, but they need a very special kind of help. They need Force users. This firstly points to the eventual power creep that happens in most franchises. James Whitbrook, the author of the article The High Republic's Writers on Why They Wanted to Make Star Wars Without a War, says, quote, "This isn't just disaster on a scale unlike anything we've seen in Star Wars before. Even with planet killers like the Death Star and Starkiller Base in the movies, but it presents a situation for the Jedi heroes of the High Republic, one that cannot be solved either with diplomacy or with the blade of a laser sword. It can't really be solved with the Force alone, either. Padawans, knights, and masters alike must no longer be keepers of the peace, but medics and disaster relief experts, the ultimate expression of the Jedi Order's compassion instead of its martial strength." Second, this point shows how the Star Wars universe at the time of the High Republic era handles epic situations and problems. Charles Soule goes on to say, quoted from that same article by James Whitbrook, that, quote, "I think we're seeing this now in the world we're living in, which is that disasters are large-scale catastrophe test systems. The way you can see the strength of a system, a government, a society, of its tools against the scope and scale of that catastrophe is to throw a disaster at it. So, the point of the Light of the Jedi, in many ways, is to introduce the High Republic to the readership, to an audience, to show what it is capable of when it's at its height, and when things get really bad, here's how it solves problems." End quote. More of the Republic's politics and uniqueness will shine forth as we cover more of the book, but it is interesting here at least to note that the Star Wars universe, and the High Republic era in particular, seems to rely on its Jedi when all else fails. Thanks for sticking around until the end of this video. Please drop a like if you think this video deserves it, and comment if you would like to add your thoughts. Also, check out more of my videos in this playlist of Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi, or any of my other videos if you would like. Until next time, my friends, stay on target, and may the Force be with you.